Hello everyone, this is Nicola Doppio from Hub Innovazione Trentino. I run the Smart Crowds Territorial Lab, and this seminar is about user experience evaluation. It is intended to teach you how to collect sound and reliable data about what users think about a product or a service. So the interesting thing is that if you are developing a product or a service, you may want to know what your potential customers think about it, and therefore you may want to do some user experience evaluation. Let's get started. Before talking about user experience, we need to introduce another related topic, which is the usability. Usability is a pretty technical concept, and it is defined as the inherent and measurable property of all interactive digital technologies. So it relates to how a system can be utilized by a user to the extent of performing certain tasks for which it was designed. In these terms, usability regards the, for instance, easiness to learn how a software works, how easy it is to use it, how soundly it prevents you to do mistakes and errors, how useful it is, and how efficient it is. So usability is a property of a technology, and of course something that you expect to be high or good. As for the user experience, it is not a property of a product, but the subjective outcome in terms of thoughts, sensations, emotions of the usage of a product by a user. So when we talk about user experience, we talk about something that regards the user, not the system. Of course, usability influences user experience a lot. However, being the user experience pivoted on the personal perceptions of the users, it also accounts for the so-called non-utilitarian aspects of a product, such as its attractiveness, its playfulness, the social meanings that may be kind of attached to it, and the values that it conveys. So why evaluating user experience? Well, in order to design great products, capable designers are not enough. You need to have in place full processes allowing you to assess whether your design is achieving users' expectations. So you need to know whether your product is working as it should, or whether your customers, your users are facing troubles or issues while using it. Or you might want also to collect suggestions for improvements. Furthermore, evaluating user experience allows you to collect sound data demonstrating to your bosses or to your investors that users really love your product and that it's therefore worth investing on it. Finally, once you launch the product into the market, you can keep on evaluating your customer experience in order to keep on improving its features. Okay, so how to do user experience evaluations? Where there are different types of user experience evaluation. You will need to build your own user experience evaluation plan, choosing from a variety of methodologies and techniques depending on different things. For instance, first of all, depending on what is the goal that you have, what you want to achieve with the evaluation. Second, the kind of product that you are working on and its maturation level. And third, time and budget constraints that you may have. But my advice is to go for a mix of the following methods and to start small and get a feedback as soon as possible from your users. So coming to the scope and objectives of the user experience evaluation, in case your goal is to collect suggestions for improvements, then you would do the so-called formative user experience evaluation. On the other side, when your goal is to validate some hypothesis or some assumptions that you have regarding your user's experience or checking whether certain user experience targets were reached or not during a test, then you would do the so-called summative user experience evaluation. So a part of these tags, what you're going to do is collecting data using two types of research methodologies: qualitative research methodologies and quantitative research methodologies. Qualitative methodologies allows you to collect non-numerical data such as descriptions, stories from the users, normally via interviews or observations. And on the other side, quantitative research methodologies allow you to collect numbers that represent basically measurements of certain user experience dimensions or variable. And of course, this allows you to build statistics. As a rule of the thumb, it's good to use qualitative methods if you are in the early stages of the R&D of your product, because you want to stay explorative, and also, of course, you have formative focus, so you want to keep on improving it. On the other side, you would use quantitative methods when you need to have summative goals, okay? Let's now talk about qualitative user experience evaluation methodologies. Let's say, for instance, that you have a prototype app that you want to test with some users, and you have a formative focus, so you want to collect insights for improvements. In this case, the research technique that I would recommend you to use is the so-called thinking aloud. The thinking aloud technique is about having users giving spoken real-time feedback while they are testing a product. The user is meant to speak out whatever he or she is doing or even thinking about while using your product. Also, the user needs to express his or her feeling about what is going on. For instance, she or he may feel lost while navigating some menu, or feel frustrated while failing to accomplish a certain task. Notice that it is very important to spend some time teaching the users how to behave during the thinking aloud, as thinking aloud, of course, is not something natural. For instance, make sure that they understand that they are not expected to provide any particular insight or analysis, but they're just expected to naturally describe what they do, what they think, how they feel. This is going to be more than enough for you to understand what is their current user experience. Also, it is very effective to structure a user experience test by providing users some predetermined goals to be achieved, or tasks. For instance, add a new friend to your profile. However, before administering these tasks, it's good for you to let the user initially browse the product freely, allowing him to get acquainted to the product, and allowing you to discover some possible natural usage patterns. Well, how to collect data? Of course, you may want to record the test by audio, video, but keep in mind that this is going to be time consuming. In any case, what you want to do is really to keep track of the UX relevant events, those that generate positive or negative reactions on the users. These are the so-called critical incidents, and are such as hesitations, errors, mistakes, aha moments, or wow moments. So all the moments that are related to a positive or negative reaction from the users. But how to analyze those kind of data? Well, once you have collected all those data, you will need to build a so-called affinity diagram. An affinity diagram is a tree-like chart that allows you to organize all the insights you collected from the various test users in a unique mind map. The idea is that you pick similar insights from the various tests and interviews that you might have done after the test, and you put them together in the same branch of the mind map. For instance, you might want to separate issues from suggestions for improvements. However, note that there is no one way to cluster the tree, and it's good to keep on rearranging it multiple times. Either you do it on a with post-its on a wall, or you use a mind mapping software, such as some nice freeware software, such as Xmind. And once you will have put on the map all the insights, you will have a fairly reliable snapshot of the situation, of your user's experience, with specific regards to where are the pain points of your product, and what are the features that, on the other side, your users love. Well, coming to the quantitative user experience evaluation methodologies, now here you don't want to understand the user experience, but you want to measure the user experience. So let's say, for instance, that thanks to the qualitative user experience evaluation that you have done before, you have now improved your product, you changed some features, you added others, and now it's time to carry out another test, allowing you to assess whether the pain points are really gone. And also you want to demonstrate to your boss or to some external investor that users really love your product, and therefore it's worth keeping investing on it. So this is more like the second type of user experience evaluation that we saw, namely the so-called summative user experience evaluation. In this case, you want to do some statistics. So the user experience evaluation methodology cannot be the same that we saw a minute ago. What you want to do here is collecting hard data, quantitative data, so you want your research to generate not post-its but numbers. In this case, you will not generate data by observing or interviewing people, but you will need a more standard data collection tool, which is a questionnaire. Second, on the other side, you will need, of course, a larger user sample. Let's say for now that some 30 to 40 users are enough to generate some sound basic UX statistics. But how to build a questionnaire? Let's say that you are interested in gathering data regarding the user's opinion on a specific feature of your product. Well, the best way to do this is to ask the user how much he or she agrees with a certain statement that you provide. Let's make an example. Consider that you want to evaluate how easy it was for him or her to do the first access, to do the login to your product, for instance. In this case, the question may be the following. Please state your degree of agreement with the following sentence. I had troubles while doing the login. That would be the question. Now, coming to the answering options, this may well be yes or no, but then you would lose a lot of shades of your users' experience. So the best way to handle this is to ask users to pick a value from 1 to 5 or 1 to 7 in terms of numbers. Notice that you can find standard and validated user experience evaluation questionnaires, such as the system usability scale or the user experience questionnaire, but they are pretty generic and they also require full statistics skills to be used. However, you may want to have a look at them to be inspired. So how to analyze these quantitative user experience evaluation data? The most important thing is that before going and looking to the generated data, what you want to do is to state the expectations that you have with regards of the results. That is, you need to declare what user experience target you wish to observe from the results of the questionnaires with regards of the specific questions that you asked. For instance, with regards to the easiness of the login process that we mentioned before, you may say that the goal of the user experience that you want to observe is that the average score from all the users on the 1 to 5 scale is 3.8. If you want to be more demanding or more bold, you may say that the threshold is 4.1. But keeping track of metrics and thresholds will also allow you to compare results over time. So now that you have set your goals and you have available your quantitative data, you are of course able to analyze your quantitative data, and these will come in form of an Excel file that you can export from some online tool that have hosted your questionnaire. The file will be structured like these. Columns will contain all the answers on a certain question or statements, while rows will contain all the answers to the various questions from a unique user. So how to analyze that? Well, I'm not going to cover these since it's about statistical analysis, but let's say that you can easily calculate, just using Excel, what is the average score on each variable or question and see whether it is in line with your expectations. You can do the same with variance or standard deviation, and that gives also you the degree of variability of the user's opinion with a certain question or a certain user experience feature. Okay, last but not least, some practical tips in evaluating the user experience. First of all, try to involve representative users. You do not want to involve your friends, your family, or your colleagues. You want to have people that are representative of your potential users or the so-called users' personas. Second, try as soon as possible and as much as you can to perform real-life experiments and not asking users to perform tests in a laboratory settings, as the context, of course, influences the user experience a lot. So go in real life setting. Third, keep in mind that organizing tests and collecting data involving users requires a huge operative work. You need to select users, you need to schedule meetings, you might need to provide rewards. There are also some legal stuff to be taken care of, for instance, regarding personal data usage consent. Fourth, start as soon as you can. Ask a feedback also with regards to a bare product idea or concept by using video or storyboard as a prototype or as minimum viable product. But start as soon as you can. Fifth, make your best for the users to be ruthless with your product. You do not want them to be so nice. You do not want them to be biased towards your product. And of course, last but not least, make sure you do not fall in love with your product yourself, because you want to keep an objective view on that. So this was Nicola Doppio from Hub Innovazione Trentino. We have been talking about user experience evaluation. I hope it was useful for you. Thank you for your attention and goodbye.